All right, this is part 2 of my video on the research project, as Screencast-O-Matic only allows 15 minutes of free recording. Screencast-O-Matic will be featured in the slideshow in a minute. I was finishing up discussing Nearpod. Some of the disadvantages to Nearpod is that you do not see the same screen that the student sees, so the interface is different. So it is helpful to use 2 gadgets at a time so that you will see what the students are seeing, and I imagine that would avoid a lot of confusion. It also requires a little tech expertise in that if you want to have a live classroom, the students have to be on Zoom, and then right now you cannot put a link directly into Zoom for Nearpod. Eventually you will, but you have to then open up a new window and log on to Nearpod. My students were very successful. Everyone in the class was able to do that. There were some other issues with kids not being able to access it, but for the most part, everyone saw the lesson and participated in the lesson to some degree. That, like I stated before, what's nice about Nearpod is that there are academic lessons, social emotional learning lessons, all kinds of opportunities with Nearpod. So I think ultimately the feedback that I received from families was that they enjoyed these lessons. In fact, after the first Nearpod lesson that I did, which was not academic in nature, it was a would you rather lesson. It was more of an icebreaker. I had 2 parents reach out to me without prompting to in gratitude, and said that one said that their child felt that the lesson was interactive and enjoyed the lesson, and the other one also expressed gratitude for the lesson. After the second Nearpod lesson, I also received positive feedback from at least one family unprompted. Another source that has become very valuable in this time is Common Sense Media, which I've done some research on, and Common Sense Media has proven to be an invaluable tool at this time, specifically for parents and families and educators. I particularly enjoy subscribing to the email list, which seems to provide practical, ready-to-go materials and resources right at the time that you're looking for those things and right at the time that you need it. So when the pandemic happened, Common Sense Media was right there with an email, essentially providing support plans, lesson plans, guides for parents and for families. Great resource. Common Sense Media also partners with Nearpod, which would offer live digital citizenship lessons for classrooms, which was ultimately one of our initial goals, was because we were going to the virtual classroom and because we honor and value and our families honor 21st century skills, that we would focus on digital citizenship in addition to social emotional learning. However, that has sort of taken a little bit of a backseat. Because although it is a top value and although the curriculum is fantastic, because of the limited time that we have with our students and the optional nature of it, and because of their limited time with peers and with connection, it does not ultimately serve our overall purpose. When this was offered to families as an option and not as a live lesson, 0% of the families opted to use the curriculum that I had provided. So I think this has a time and a place, but right now other things are taking precedence. Digital citizenship is very much a top goal and very much deemed valuable for our program and for myself as a teacher. And it is valuable at this time, but we will take a look at what some of the other reasons why we have not focused completely on this, although we are teaching some lessons in the moment, but more social and emotional learning lessons in regards to digital citizenship. Flipgrid is also another great opportunity for teachers, and really there are unlimited possibilities. We decided to use this platform because it allows for children to record videos of themselves for their peers. So it is something that we feel could potentially empower all of our children, in particular some of the ones that maybe do not speak up in the classroom or are introverted. We feel that we also noticed that it is used successfully in the 3rd to 5th grade traditional classroom at Avison. My children use it in their classrooms. However, in that program, there are no whole class live virtual classrooms offered. So it is one of the few opportunities for my child to see the videos. In our class, so far, we've had 2 students, so 13% have recorded the video since it was introduced 3 to 6 days ago. And one, and I don't know about my language here, but I put one introverted student recorded a video. Ultimately, the parent of the child in an informal setting in a parent meeting informed me that her child was introverted and did not like speaking in front of class, but that she was excited to record this video. And so it was interesting that someone who does not speak in front of the class, was one of the first people to use this tool. At this time, it's possible that there's not enough research yet to say this, but that the tech requirement may be too much for families, considering that we only have 1 month of school left. This does require them to get to access their school email, and perhaps some of the families don't want their child on another tech gadget after our live meeting. But it does offer unlimited possibilities, and we absolutely think this could be a part of our program in the future, because we can offer prompts that have to do with sharing STEAM or engineering projects or art projects, or really anything under the sun. The sky's the limit kind of there. I just wanted to put a note, sorry there's no image here, on Zoom failures. This is sort of a tech failure, I guess, so maybe that's purposeful. Ultimately, one of the most interesting things to note was that even when there was a Zoom failure where essentially I had to cancel the class, it seemed as if that students were sort of taking over the screen, and that the faces on the screen blacked out, and that even when I logged out, the students were still able to stay on. Ultimately, it was beautiful and wonderful, and it is one of those patterns or trends that we're noticing, that in our class we've always said that fail early, fail often. So the way we dealt with this is, the way I dealt with this is to use Screencast-O-Matic with the program that I'm on currently, which I'll share a slide about in a second, to record a video within the hour of the lesson explaining what happened, and also to meet with families. And ultimately, what seemed like a challenging Zoom fail, the parent feedback was clear. Within 48 hours of the fail, 3 parents sent positive feedback without prompting. Very grateful for our virtual classroom experience, and in the next 2 days, another 2 more parents reached out and let us know. This is the video that I sent to parents within the hour after the Zoom fail. I was worried about those kids that may have been frustrated or worried, and so I sent an email and asked all families to watch the video together and discuss as a family. And it was essentially social emotional learning about positive intent, about how we are a community that does not that embraces challenge, and that we will figure out, and we will have strategies and solutions, and don't worry, we'll be with them next week. Or it was actually 2 days later that we were going to have another live class. So I think that ultimately it was very clear that the parents appreciated this. What is pretty interesting is that trying all of these amazing digital tools, what seemed to be some of the most successful lessons in terms of participation and in terms of observing the nature of the students' interactions with each other and participation in the class were traditional board games using live Zoom. So here's an example of one where we played Scattergories and provided modified rules. And after this lesson, 3 parents sent unprompted positive feedback. And in terms of teacher observation, although I did not record specific evidence of student engagement and interaction, I heard a lot of student voice. I would venture to say that I had the most participation from students of all the virtual lessons that I'd done so far with this lesson. So interesting. There are details here on that folks can peruse at their own leisure. I'll send this link on some of the research. I would like to share some of the data from a survey. So essentially, we sent out a survey to parents prior to distance learning and asked parents which of these things are most important to you. And they could select up to 5 things that were most important to you. And what we guessed we would see is that social emotional learning was key for them. Here, the data may be a little skewed in that there were so many to choose from. In fact, I didn't put everything here. But you can see that peer interaction is one of the most important things, or something I should say that most families in the survey. Actually, let me reword what I'm saying differently. You can see that peer interaction was the most popular choice that in terms of consistency, that most of our families chose many of our families chose peer interaction, with writing and interaction with advisors being up there as well. I would argue that this data isn't that valid, and that we would need to define some terms and be more specific in what we're asking here. Ultimately, peer interaction and our abilities to deal with conflict resolution and our children working together is all part of social emotional learning. So those things, I think, tend to go together. We also wanted to know overall, how have ACIS distance learning opportunities impacted your child. Notice that the light blue and the dark blue are both that there's a positive impact. If you add those together, 75% of parents note that ACIS distance learning opportunities have had a positive impact on their child, and 19% noticed a very positive impact. When asked to explain why, 56% specifically mentioned connection with friends or connections with their classmates as reasons. So obviously peer interaction is vital and important. We also asked if they feel that their child enjoys the virtual classroom experience, and you can see that here that many said yes. 75% of the parents state that their child enjoys the virtual classroom experience. And we also overall asked how likely are you to recommend ACIS to friends and colleagues. 93% of ACIS families are satisfied with our overall program. We just wanted to gauge their overall satisfaction in trying to understand whether any of it is related to distance learning. There is a level of analysis here that I cannot get into in terms of biases and validity. But what I did want to make sure there was time to state is the patterns and trends. And what we noticed is that peer interaction, connection, social emotional learning should be at the forefront of all learning. In a global crisis, if you create a place for a large group of children to interact in a safe, positive way on a regular basis, it will benefit children and families. I put a very simple, keep it simple, stupid, and don't call yourself stupid, but silly is vital. Humor seems to be important at this time and all times. And surrender to every moment just as it is. Those seem to be some of the trends to get us through these times. Until next time, be safe, wear a mask, try to create moments of connection, joy, and laughter with each day. and a little thank you shout out.